Hello everybody, it's Simon here, and it's been about a day since we spent some time talking about Unix pipelines and some small scripts that we could use to accomplish some pretty big things on our Unix and our Linux systems. And even though it's been a whole day where I've been doing other things, even trying to get outside and enjoy the weather, I still can't stop thinking about times in my career where I've used these tools and techniques to accomplish some pretty impactful things. And one thing came to mind that I thought I would share with you. I started a new job many years ago where I immediately became responsible for a large collection of Unix workstations and servers. Engineering work was being done on these machines, and users were frequently dissatisfied with their performance, but it was sort of inconsistent. And the folks who were managing the system at the time couldn't really articulate how well these systems were being used or even abused. Like, we didn't know if there were systems that were completely overburdened while other ones were underutilized. We didn't have a good sense as to what we could do to positively impact the work that was being done on these machines, especially in a cost-effective way. So how did I solve the problem? Well, I would need to know certain things about the machines to make good recommendations. For instance, I would need to know key system metrics. A good one would be how many processes are running on that system at that time. Well, we know of a command that will show us the processes running on a system, PS, right? You know it well. What if we could count up the number of lines in that output? Wouldn't we then know the number of processes running at that moment? Sure. Okay, we've got that number. What other numbers would we want? Well, we would want to know things like, how is the memory doing? Like, is there enough free memory to start up new programs, or is it burdened? Or how about swap space, where memory is written when the system is under memory pressure? How's it doing? Well, there's commands for that as well, and we could parse that output to get a good number. How about the number of users that are logged in at that moment? So we could sort of correlate whether system utilization was interactive or something that people would sort of start a process and then log off and go away and have that thing run when they weren't watching it. We would also want to know, for instance, if there were a lot of processes that were waiting for attention by the CPU. We call that the load average. And that, again, is really easy to get with certain Unix tools, and then we can use pipelines to pull just that information out of that stream of data. Well, great. We have a bunch of commands that we can use to get key system metrics. Great. So how did I use that information to solve my problem? Well, it was actually really straightforward. I took that data and I was able to put all those commands that extracted it into a script. So it looked kind of like this, right? So I'd collect the date and time, and I would collect the output of all these pipelines, and then I would echo that information out to standard output. Then I would use output redirection to put that into a log file. Okay, now what? Well, using a tool that you'll find out about in Unix administration class called cron, I scheduled that to run every approximately 10 minutes on each system. So 6 times an hour, I would get some data, and I would run that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I ran that for months and months and months. While it was running, I was able to get a great look at how the systems were operating. How did I do that? Well, if I was logging this data to standard out and redirecting that into a file, I now have a really great log file of how the system is performing, and I was able to use that comma-separated list of values, pull that into a graphing tool that comes with Linux and other distributions of Unix, and I produced these really great graphs. I would look at them once a week, and then at the end of the month, I would look at the month's performance, and I would look at the quarter at the end of the 3-month period. And right away, just doing this thing gave me incredible insight into the patterns of operation for these machines. So I was able to quickly see which machines maybe had too many users on them and which ones had room for some of those users to move. It was obvious to me which system needed a CPU or wholesale upgrade, and which ones just needed a little bit of extra memory. So for a very small time investment, only 2 or 3 hours I think it took me to put this together, I was able to really make solid recommendations that people could act on. a little bit of money spent on some memory, a little bit of money spent on some other upgrades, and the user community was delighted. And it was all due to just taking data, using pipelines, and using the same technique that we did right in class, throwing it into a script file, and then using other scripts later on to graph that information and get a good sense as to what was going on. Anyway, I hope me relating this story to you has given you some insight as to where you might be able to use this technique in the future. I'd like to inspire you to think about where you could use some of the skills you're learning in the future to advance your career, to advance the situation of your place of employment, and even to do some fun, interesting things at home. All right, that's all I wanted to share with you today. I'm going to see if I can't enjoy a little bit more of the good weather while it's still here. I think some rain is coming in shortly, and I will talk to you later next week. Good luck, and good luck on your scripting assignment. Bye for now.